Now, on behalf of Transcend and UND, I'm really happy to see you all. In fact, several people said, well, like, what's with the picture? Is that like a family photo or something? And I said, no, no. I just wanted to show you how happy I am to see you, and who's more excited to see you than your dog? Okay. So what I want to do very briefly is just cover a couple of housekeeping details, and then we can talk about Transcend itself. Housekeeping, I hope many of you were not discomfited by the cones outside and found a place to park. The parking should be free, and everything there should be okay. I apologize for any inconvenience. Other important items are the restrooms are on both ends of the floor, and as well on the second, third, and fourth floors if you feel the need to wander a little bit later. If you need the internet because you need to sell or buy some stocks, you could simply go to UND Guest when you search for a router, and it'd be easy to get onto the internet from there. I would give you one caution, and that is for those of you who drove in from out of town, Columbia Street is closed, and lots of people are taking University. The 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on University is religiously enforced. So I'm going to consider today a success if nobody gets a ticket going home. Okay? Don't ask me how I know. The other item that I would ask is that one of the ways in which translational work progresses is if people mix it up a little bit. So as a personal favor, anytime we have a break, if you just go up to some person that you do not know and say, hey, I'm, in my case, Gary. What do you do? And I'm taking the sting out of it completely because you can walk up to that person and say, look, Gary told me to do this. Okay? Do it. Please do it. It will really help. And you'll be surprised that there will be people with interests similar to yours or lateral to yours that you didn't know about, and you wouldn't have known it if you didn't just introduce yourself. Okay, that's what I want to cover in terms of housekeeping details. The other housekeeping detail is you should have received a brochure which has all the information that you need and all the contact information. So you are here now, and we're just covering some introductory remarks, but you should be able to find any individual and contact them given the information in your brochure. And if you didn't get one walking in, please pick one up. So now we can talk Turkey. What is Transcend? For those of you who don't know, Transcend is a 5-year, $11 million grant from the National Institutes of Health, from the National Institute of General Medical Sciences in particular, and the goal of which is to grow the group, the professionals capable of conducting clinical and translational research regarding health problems, health issues faced by North Dakota. So Transcend, of course, stands for Translational Science Engaging North Dakota, and the partners in Transcend are UND, our sister university, North Dakota State University, and Sanford Health. If you are not from Sanford and don't already know, Sanford Health is the largest integrated health system in the Dakotas. In fact, it is the largest employer in North and South Dakota. So those are our players in terms of what is clinical and translational research or C&T research. Well, I think the clinical research is pretty easy to deduce. Clinical research is research that directly involves individuals, either individual patients or persons who might be patients. And that includes individuals who are presently well but are at risk for some disease. The bottom line is that it involves individuals, and it's not simply cell lines or microscopy or in vivo work. It must be connected in some way to living persons. Translation is a little trickier, and the NIH has a number of definitions of it. The simplest one, I think, is this. So translation is the process of turning observations in the lab, in the clinic, and the community into interventions. This is really the key word, into interventions that improve the health of individuals and communities. So the heart of translation is taking some finding and making something out of it that affects people in a positive way. It's sort of easier to define, I think, translation by example. Here's an example that probably everybody remembers from Bullfinch's mythology. We have a hydra, which is a venomous, very venomous, 9-headed serpent that devours people in Lernia in southern Greece. So Hercules, as part of his second labor, is sent to dispatch said serpent. And that's a tricky thing because one of the heads of this 9-headed serpent is immortal. So it's kind of a challenge to deal with. So Hercules starts, he clubs their heads, but 2 of them regrow for each head that he smashes. That's really a perfect metaphor for research because you think you're going to solve a problem and 2 of them come back. So he tries something new, okay? So he decapitates their heads, and then his nephew, Aeolus, burns the stumps. So he gets rid of those 9 heads and then buries the one immortal head. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is that that example has all the elements that the NIH is looking for in clinical and translational research, okay? So what are those elements? Well, there's a defined place. In our case, that's North Dakota, so that the funds that we have for Transcend die at the border, okay? This is money that is only good in North Dakota. It has like Teddy Roosevelt's picture on it or something. But the goal is to improve health conditions, invest in North Dakota, so that at the end of the grant, which we hope never happens because these grants are renewable, we will actually have grown the cohort of North Dakota clinical translational investigators. It has a health concern. The hydra, duh, this is a problem. It eats Lernians, it's terrible for tourism, and something has to be done about it. So it has a specific health problems. It has a senior investigator, Hercules, and it has a trainee, his nephew, Aeolus. The trainee might be seen as a new investigator. It has a specific hypothesis that is testable, and this is key, okay? Because it's not science unless it's testable. And the hypothesis is that decapitation and cautery is superior to just macerating their heads. It has a definite outcome. You can count the results, the number of heads, and it has a clear outcome that's unambiguous. This is grantable, fundable research. In fact, it would probably fall under the category of high risk, high reward, which is an NIH category, but this is what we're looking for. You don't have to be a Greek hero, though, to do it. And that's the beautiful part, because we have a lot of facilities and personnel and expertise that can turn you into one. North Dakota doesn't have a hydra, although the Red River is a little iffy, if you ask me. But we have some real problems in North Dakota that probably rival it. You may or may not be aware that we are first or second in deaths from colorectal cancer. In fact, there is more variation within the state of North Dakota in terms of who dies from colorectal cancer than there is in the United States as a whole. There's a threefold variation in deaths from colorectal cancer in this state. What is that about? We ought to be able to solve that. We are number one in leukemia that's common among adults, chronic lymphocytic leukemia. That makes absolutely no sense because most people with this disease, CLL, are diagnosed incidentally. We don't have a lot of healthcare providers, so if we're number one in the absence of many healthcare providers and hematologists, how much higher are the rates really? We don't know what causes CLL. We could figure it out and should. Thyroid cancer is the cancer with the fastest growing incidence in American women, and also actually in Europe. For reasons that I don't know, but I wish I did, we are number one in both incidence and mortality from thyroid cancer. Now, most people don't die from thyroid cancer. Some do. Why are we number one? Also, off the charts in terms of lung cancer among Native Americans. Depending on how you calculate it, we have also high risks for Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases. Now, the reason these are important, and also, obviously, they don't stop with chronic diseases. Behavioral issues like binge drinking. North Dakotans are heavy drinkers. Youth suicide rates are among the highest in the US. And we have peculiar geographic areas. There are many counties in North Dakota that have no healthcare providers. We are also the most radioactive state in the United States, and the high radon levels, you'll hear a little bit more about those from several speakers later, are probably related to some of the problems that we have. But the reason these things are so important to us, and were important in actually helping us get the grant, is that the NIH wants to invest in North Dakota, not just because we have these problems, but if we can solve what causes thyroid cancer in North Dakota, the answer to that probably doesn't stop at the border. Okay? So whatever causes some of these problems in North Dakota should be applicable to the rest of the United States. So investing in North Dakota is investing in a microcosm of disease problems. And again, who is more motivated to solve those problems in North Dakota than us? So this is a huge opportunity for us and to contribute to the national and even the international scene in cancer and cardiovascular disease, behavioral issues. So how do we try and do that? Well, there are a number of opportunities that are provided for by the Transcend grant, and many of which are described in your brochure, so I won't go into great detail about them. However, just to list them, Transcend supports a seminar series. We distribute more than $500,000 a year in pilot grants. So if you have an idea about what causes colorectal cancer, or how to improve screening for colorectal cancer, or anything that could be conceived of as an intervention that improves the health of North Dakotans, let's talk, okay? Because we can provide $75,000 or $100,000 a year for pilot grants, and we will connect you, if you're ELAs, with our own versions of Hercules. We've got some very well-muscled people here who've got NIH experience and others who will help you turn your project into a successful grant. And the goal is, and the criterion by which we will be evaluated, and by which Transcend might be renewed for another 5 years, is can we effectively grow the cadre of trained clinical translational investigators? And NIH has a very simple definition of this. You are a professional independent investigator if you can apply for your own and receive your own NIH funds. So we have individuals who will help you to create those grants. We have specific training in grant writing. We've also negotiated, thanks to the medical school, for a number of individuals, you might say, look, I would love to do clinical and translational research, but I really was never trained in it. Gotcha. There are some excellent courses available from universities you may have heard of, and we will cover the costs for you to take those courses. So you could take a course in CME for CNT investigation from the Mayo Clinic, from Harvard, from Stanford University, and UND and Transcend will pick up the tab. We also, in addition to supporting pilot grants, the university has support for meritorious grants that get scored. We can arrange to give you some funds to actually get to the next level. We will arrange for scored grants to purchase expert review to get you to the next level. So if you are interested in becoming more active in clinical and translational research, Transcend should be your best buddy. And there are ways to connect to Transcend, and I urge you to just Google UND Transcend, and you'll be transported to the UND Transcend portal and register. We can hook you up with collaborators. We can start the conversation. And basically, my family and I would like to thank you again for coming. And before we start with the updates from those individuals who have received Transcend funds, just to show you what it is Transcend will provide, I'd be happy to take any questions. If not, please remember, anybody you don't know? Super.